Hello everyone and welcome to the 2018 Disc Golf Pro Tour Opener, the Memorial Championships presented by Discraft. I'm your host Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, and a very special guest joining me, Valarie Jenkins. How you doing today, Valarie?
Hi Terry, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to see this round get kicked off.
It is very exciting. We've got a great group of women. Catrina Allen's on the tee, and we're at Fountain Hills, Arizona. A very, very dangerous course when it comes to water and OBs. There's Catrina on her first shot.
And what's interesting this year is that some of these holes are going to be played a little bit differently. So on this first hole, it looks like they're shooting from the shorter tee pad. Is that correct, Terry?
That is. This is the women's tee. It comes in at 318 feet. Not as much of a water carry. The men are playing from a different tee pad at 390. And this one's 318, and both Colleen Thompson and Paige Pierce OB right off the bat.
Yeah, so even though it's a little bit shorter tee pad, it's still a difficult hole. Depending on the wind and seeing from that Discraft flag, it's a little windy out there, even though it's early morning.
It is early morning and it's cold out. You see everybody bundled up. The temperature's somewhat heated up throughout the week, but very cold to get started. And Paige has a chance to save her par, and she's scratching her head. Surprised to see that one come out on her. And Colleen Thompson, maybe a little bit of nerves here to get started on the first hole.
Yeah. It's early in the morning, like you said, a little cold. Maybe your fingers aren't warmed up yet. And it's the first hole of a big tournament. And Colleen Thompson, she's a new face to the scene. She's been around for a little while in the AM world. You were telling me a little bit about her accolades. What can you tell us more about Colleen Thompson?
I'm fortunate. I knew Colleen as Catrina taps out for her par on hole one. I knew Colleen from back in the Midwest, from when she lived and played in Illinois quite frequently. A few years ago, she took a job opportunity down in Arizona, and it brought her there, and she's been there, and she said she doesn't plan on looking back. And here she is on our card as a featured local from the Scottsdale, Arizona area. Finding a tree on that right side, and Paige wasn't supposed to follow suit there.
And 3 in a row?
Yeah,
I think
I'm not
Colleen's
sure.
fought through a little bit longer, but still, they're going to have some short drives. Hopefully these shots will make up for it.
Well, they are playing, again, a little bit different configuration out here than what you're used to seeing in the years past. There's a women's basket placed out there at a slightly shorter distance, so it's still considered a par 4, but they're playing to a different basket location, and we'll see if any of them can make up and still possibly card the birdies or the pars out here on hole 2.
Oh man, you can hear Paige is a little disappointed in that shot. Came out a little low, a little too turned over, and you'll see Kat lays it up there nicely for a little drop in 4.
Colleen with a short approach and not quite as close as you'd like. Like you said, early morning, you want to be putting these underneath the basket for your tap-ins.
Absolutely. So on a lot of these putts, you'll see downhill toward the water. And that was a really nice start for Colleen. You know, you're going to be put in these situations where you're going to have to make those putts to, make up for those shots that maybe you hit the first tree. But, you have to be confident in your putting out here at the Memorial. A lot of water right behind the baskets. And you'll see, hopefully these ladies start getting a little warmed up after these first 2 holes.
Both Colleen and Paige are in for their pars. Catrina's got a very short little tap in for her par. So in the early goings here, we see Catrina taking a par on both 1 and 2, and even with just pars, she's picked up a couple of strokes on her card mates. Does that mess with the mentality at all when you're getting started?
I don't know. There's 4 rounds out there. And so, just starting it off, you got to remain solid all throughout the tournament. So the first 2 holes are just really getting you going. Hopefully you're not going to make too many big mistakes down the road, but consistent play has always won me the big tournaments, that is.
And here we are on 3, a hole where water really shouldn't come into play. Obviously it can on 1 and 2. Hole 3, it's got a slightly elevated basket. We've seen that for a number of years out here. There's OB on both right and left, but you're not going to find any water OB.
Nope. But of course they got to put those flags there. So OB all surrounding the basket just to scare you a little bit. Make sure you got to get that disc close.
And
or
Colleen,
make your putt.
Yeah, Colleen, a good looking run. If you're going to miss anywhere to an elevated basket, missing a little bit high means you're at least giving it the chance to go in. Paige wiping off her hand, and looks like a birdie, the first one on the card.
There you go. Yeah, putting on these elevated baskets is pretty difficult. You have to make sure that you have a high release, which is against a lot of things that you do in your regular putting routine, maybe out in the backyard. I find myself having to kind of extend my putt a little longer than I would, almost kind of a late release, just so I'm really getting it up there to get enough height on these elevated baskets. And even those short drop-in putts can be scary if you're not tall enough to reach the basket.
Can make it tough. Catrina with an easy tap in. She's going to go 1 under par. Not a bad start for her. Par, and birdie. And a beach towel comes out. I thought we were just saying it's too cold for that.
Exactly, and we're pretty far from the beach, but you might see some players pull out a towel to get a little bit more traction on the tee pads. There
was a bunch of rain that came in. I think it only rains about 2 hours a year, and sure enough, this year it rained just before the Memorial Championships got started, and Paige's drive is high and doesn't make it all the way back to the inbounds area.
Ooh, that's a pretty nice rip from Colleen, showing these ladies how it's done. Hope she gives a little sponsor shout out for sharing that beach towel with everybody.
Yeah, I believe that's actually Paige's towel. And you'll see throughout, Paige graciously shared the towel with everyone. She's got a little bit of work to do after going OB. She's looking at saving a bogey at best. And this is Colleen for birdie.
Nice. That was a great birdie. I really like the change up on this hole. Although it was a really great hole to throw down near and under that tree. With the hole right near the road, it made it really difficult. But I like this position for the women. I think it allows a lot more birdie opportunities. And that was great to see Colleen throw in a birdie right there.
I think you nailed it exactly. This moving some of the tees or some of the pins is something that Steve Dodge has tirelessly worked with UDisc and the women's division to talk about where exactly those should be, so we see a little bit more scoring separation. And that last hole kind of proved exactly your point. There was a birdie, a par, and a bogey all on that hole. I think you would have seen a lot of pars otherwise.
Wow, those were 2 great shots by Colleen and Kat. Let's see if Paige can follow this up.
And this is to a women's basket as well at 270 feet. That's a turnover, and you can't see it, but that just checks up. And she's not out of bounds. It looked like she might have been, but lets the birdie slip away. A little bit of a high release there by Catrina. It doesn't seem like her putting stroke is there. She's been so close for all of her putts so far. That's kind of the first tester that she's had.
Yeah, and I just saw her check the wind. She picked up a little grass, threw it in the air to check the wind. So I guess the wind might be affecting them at this point. We're on this side of the fountain, and the wind really blows across. You'll get a lot of left to right wind blowing. And so just being aware of the wind and using your putt to this ability is really key when you're out at Fountain Hills.
Colleen picking up another birdie. She missed 3 unlike the other 2, but then picks up birdies on 4 and 5. And she's sitting in second place overall right now.
Nice. That's a really good shot. I would recommend anybody to go over the tree on this hole while the tree is kind of leaning over and allowing that kind of portrait around the basket. There is that straight up the gut shot. However, you'll see these ladies with the big arms going up and over. That's the safest shot to get you up near the basket.
Yeah, the only mistake you really don't want to make here is hanging it too far to the right, because if it catches edge on the right side hill, it almost is inevitably going to go out of bounds. But Catrina was short and the other two were just to the left of the basket. And here's a circle 2 putt just outside of it.
Wow. That was an amazing putt. I mean, if she were to miss that left or right or high, she could be rolling down the hill and going straight for that road and OB, which is another, I would say, 50 feet uphill putt.
Yep. And Catrina with another misfire. That's back-to-back on holes 5 and 6 after seeing Colleen make hers from 34 feet. And Paige is going to pick up a birdie as well here on 6. And that's going to cost Catrina the par. She came up short, and then by throwing past the basket, she's going to take the bogey. And a little bit of a slow start here for Catrina on these last few holes. She started out all right, but it looks like things have slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, and you can still see their scores are pretty tight.
Hole 7 at just 210 feet. It's the shortest hole out of the 36 holes played at the Memorial Championships. Short but not easy, is it, Val?
No, you can't see it right now, but the water comes in and creates sort of a peninsula that the basket is sitting on. And if you see that flag right behind the tee box, it is whipping. While you can't see the trees blowing too much, the wind is definitely there, blowing left to right.
And Paige, without hesitation, just like Colleen, we almost missed the shot, was just stepped right up and said, I'm not messing with any of this. I'm just going to lay it up. Catrina has a look at birdie, and the putting struggle continues here. That's 3 in a row for her, and I would chalk her up for a birdie all day long from that position, but the other two tap in, and next thing you know, you've got a star par.
Alright, so that's where you can see that this left to right wind is really coming into play. Colleen released at a little Anheuser angle, and the wind took it far OB at that point.
It did. She'll get the distance, but like you said, pushing that one OB hard to the right, and that's a really good position for Paige.
That was a beautiful shot. Let's see if Catrina can do just the same. Do we have any call at this point? Is she safe? Is she inbounds?
She comes down safe. She's inbounds, and I think it's safe to say that tree saved her a stroke. I think that was heading out of bounds the entire way as well, as Colleen releases a little bit low, but Catrina got a little bit lucky there by that tree catching her before going out of bounds. And all you can really do from there is lay up and then attempt to play this hole for the par from on top of this hill.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I'm surprised that they did not shorten the basket or the tee on this hole. Typically, I would like to be in this position that Paige is in. Normally, I end up a little shorter, but throwing your upshot from the top of that hill, looking down on the basket, you can really go for a nice wide upshot to make sure you're safe, but you want to get across at this point, and that was a beautiful upshot by Catrina.
It was. She just about textbook there, and after hitting a tree on her last shot, we see Colleen struggling a little bit here on 8. Paige has got to look at a birdie 3 that's in and out somehow.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, you could just tell it was a little bit low, and maybe with the wind, maybe if it was a little bit calmer, that would have stuck, but definitely needs to carry into those baskets. You really need a harder putt. There's a lot of chains on those Mach 10s, and Paige may be looking to adjust her shots, going into these next shots for the rest of the round.
All right, and that one unfortunately bites Colleen pretty hard for the double bogey. She moves to +1, but like you've said, it's still incredibly tight. We're looking at even, and +1. And I think she got away with one there, wouldn't you say, Val?
Absolutely. See if Catrina can adjust her shot. That's a great placement.
This one's a little bit daunting. They are playing from a different tee, which I think makes this hole so much more attackable. And we'll have to see exactly how everyone plays it. It looks like Colleen's might have turned over. I'm not sure she was trying to play quite that safe. but she's put herself right next to the basket, and she's probably looking at a 3 from there. Catrina says she's not messing around with any kind of run. Question is, how aggressive is Paige going to be?
Ooh, all right. That looked like she was going for it, but it was still nice and under the basket. Seems like on this shot, you walk away with your 3 and you're happy, especially if you're not under the basket. You know, we still have that water that comes into play a ton, so getting your 3 on this hole, and you're going to be satisfied with that. That was a nice putt from Catrina to save that 3.
And as Paige taps out, I want to thank you, Val, for joining us. Your first ever commentary on a post-production round. I'm honored and blessed that you would join us and give us some insights. We're looking forward to hearing more from you as we move to the back 9 during the first round at the 2018 Memorial Championships presented by Discraft. We'll see you soon.